I've suffered from the Christmas blues for most of my adult life. Maybe calling these the holiday blues would be better because I'm generally in a funk until after New Year's. And I think I know why. I think it's because even though I'm writing this on the third day of winter and we're all wired by nature to understand that winter is the big slowdown, Americans have traditionally attached big expectations to this time of year. We just expect more from the holidays than they can deliver. I was born in the 1950s. Mine was the first generation to have grown up with a television in the house. Our parents knew about the persuasive power of billboards, magazines, and radio. But ours was the first batch of Americans to have visible human beings speaking to us from inside a piece of furniture in the living room. They were all putting on little shows for us, interspersed with directives about what we needed to buy in order to be happy. I grew up Catholic, and my folks made an effort to keep the religious flavor of Christmas alive, even in the face of the commercial onslaught. Some years, on Christmas Eve, my folks would wake the kids up hours after bedtime and haul us off to midnight mass. Arriving home, we'd take off our coats and go back to bed for a few more hours before crowding around the tree to see what Santa had brought for us. How's that for mixed messaging? 5 kids in pajamas tearing into the wrapping paper, hoping and praying for some particularly coveted item, only to be disappointed in most cases. My parents always tried to give us what we wanted, but rarely had the funds available to do so. Here's the example that stands above all the other little letdowns. I was maybe 10 or 11, and I wanted a Schwinn Stingray bike more than anything in the world. I even knew what color I wanted, candy purple, though I'd have settled for candy red or candy green. And when I came slipping and sliding down the hall and into the living room, I saw the wrapped form that could only be a 20-inch bike, with ape hanger handlebars and a banana seat and a sissy bar. This was my moment. Then off came the paper, and I found that I had a brand new Murray Wildcat, a department store bike that was made to look like a Stingray, but that was not a Stingray. And it was gold, probably my least favorite color. I'm sure I feigned gratitude, but the disappointment I felt was akin to losing a friend. You see, I didn't have many friends, and all the cooler kids who I wanted to hang out with had Schwinn Stingrays. This bike was almost like membership in a club, or so I thought. The Stingray had a small front sprocket which gave it instant acceleration. Wheelies were not just possible, but almost automatic. The Schwinn was nimble and quick and symbolic of the wild, spontaneous adventures that I thought I'd be part of once I had one. The Murray Wildcat, on the other hand, had an enormous front sprocket. A kid my size had to stand on the pedal just to get the thing moving forward at all. It should have been called the Inertia Cat. Me trying to keep up around the neighborhood with the darting, jumping, wheeling Stingray crowd was akin to my older brother showing up at the Irwindale drag strip in the family station wagon. I was small and slow on my feet anyway. Now I was slow on wheels, with a humiliating off-brand bike that nobody even wanted to steal. Once again, my prayed-for popularity slipped from my grasp. This was the pattern of my life back then. I'd be programmed to want something. I would attach too much to my desire, and then I'd watch as other kids would get that thing, and I would have to settle for what my dad would call a reasonable facsimile. This happened in everything from shoes to girls. I simply never got what I wanted. Okay, there was that one year that I got a Johnny 7 one-man army. That was a good year. Perhaps because that was the one time that the thing I wanted actually aligned with my parents' ability to provide it. Maybe this is why I've never been materialistic as an adult, because wanting things was just too painful way back then. I suppose that my Christmas blues is mostly an echo of all those long ago disappointments. I don't trust Christmas. Many years later, when I had outgrown being a frustrated kid and become a frustrated grown-up, I happened to meet an older gentleman who did his level best to repair my thinking. He taught me, among many other things, that unhappiness lives in the gulf between expectation and result. He was no suburban Buddhist. He wasn't swearing off all earthly desire. No, Ed was a realist. He knew that people will always want some number of things or experiences. He understood that all of human progress is driven by us never being quite satisfied with what we already have. But Ed was all about us locating the internal knobs and switches and then learning to operate ourselves properly. Later, I figured out that no human relationship can flourish if those involved don't provide something for one another. The healthy relationship is a sort of fulfillment agreement based on realistic expectations. It's the unrealistic expectation that opens up the gap that Ed spoke of, whether we're talking relationships or not. Closing that gap is simple and consists of two parts. Part one is to continually and consciously turn down your expectations, not off, just down. Teach yourself not to expect very much and try not to be too specific about what you do expect. Part two was to gradually raise the level of your results. If your job has become a dead-end trap, do what's necessary to either move up the ladder or move to a better job. If your guitar playing embarrasses you, practice a lot. If your friends don't have your back, shop for new friends. Ed taught me to want less, but also to get better results whenever I could. You see, at a given point, a rising result reaches your lowered level of expectation and the two meet up, leaving little room for disappointment and bitterness. Ed was a lot older than me. He's been gone for many years, so I have no older, wiser guy to remind me of these things. You can remind me, and I'll remind you. I've kept my expectations low lately. After I got divorced and my birth family moved 800 miles from LA, I found places to go over the holidays where I felt welcomed. I grew a new tradition at the home of my friends John and Julie, along with a whole bunch of other orphan musicians. That became a reliable observance over the years. Christmas was not amazing. It was just very good. Last year, I skipped that and headed for Oregon for a family Christmas. But I caught a cold and couldn't risk giving it to anybody, so I spent the day quarantined in the little single wide you may have seen me in. Shades of things to come. I was near to family, but not with family, really. This year, I won't even be near. The shutdowns are in full force again. This is not going in the right direction. What will happen next year? Maybe I will have been deported to a prison island off Malta. Or maybe I'll be back to where I was on Christmas 2018, having a beautiful meal with friends who love me in spite of myself, and then pulling the chairs into a circle to trade songs and stories and laughter. Yes, I would very gladly return to that reasonable facsimile of Christmas with the family. Ours is a consumer culture. There's nothing new about that. I think that as we grow older, the joy-giving promise of objects and gadgets just wears off. We've done the desire attainment cycle so many times that we pretty much know how much happiness we'll get from a given purchase and about how long it will take to wear off. I have one such item on the way, a little practice amp that will fit into a small space near my pillow and allow me to play electric guitar lying on my back in bed. That's what passes for luxury in the Hobo Dojo. And it will let me tinker with reasonable facsimiles of about 100 different virtual amps and effects, pedals, and speaker cabinets, all with an app on my phone. And I can plug the thing into my laptop and record tracks in bed, lying on my back. That purchase was $255, including tax. Free shipping with carry bag in case I'm ever allowed to leave the house. I do not expect anything of this little purchase other than what I've just detailed. It's not a stepping stone to becoming the world's oldest overnight guitar sensation. It's just a tool that fits my space and will give me a grin or two now and then. Think of it as an appliance, like my microwave. I like my microwave. It never lets me down. But I don't expect it to make me happy. I expect it to reheat my coffee. My spark amp will be like that. Hopefully it will come in today and I'll have it for my solitary Christmas morning. Maybe I should wrap it and present it to myself at dawn. Of course, giving is another source of joy at Christmas, but this year, even that has been short-circuited by quarantine culture. No driving around to visit friends with a dozen tins of homemade cookies in a box on my passenger seat. I'll have dinner with my daughter tonight, and that will be it for Christmas revels. A walk on Christmas Day with a friend, and a Zoom call with John and Julie and friends around dinner time. No boxes, no ribbons. Gift certificates sent by email will have to do. After missing it last year, I forced myself to restart my traditional holiday fund drive, Cows for Christmas, and seeing about 100 of you donate so generously has been food for the soul. That and working up a couple of Christmas songs to play for you on my other channel when I'm done here. I've kept the expectations low, and right now, this minute, I'm trying to produce a decent result. Links below. So I'll wake up Christmas morning, open my present to myself, say hello to as many of you as possible by YouTube comment thread, and be grateful that I'm healthy and warm and that nothing catastrophic has visited me personally throughout this long God-forsaken year. And that will be more than enough. The gulf between expectation and result, don't let it grow. It can swallow you up. Shrink it a little if you can. You can. Merry Christmas to you from your ordinary pal in an old RV on the edge of the world, and Happy New Year. New Year's Eve. That's a whole other can of worms. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.